Hey, what's up guys? Today in this video, we are going to look at how to set up a newsletter subscription functionality on a website. So this is something which I have been working for one of our clients. The requirement was very simple. He had a blog and he wanted to have a newsletter subscription widget. When a user subscribes to that newsletter list, right, the email list, an email verification should go so that we can understand that the email is valid and the user has control over that email. And once the verification is done, we add that email address to Sendgrid's contact list, and from there is a drip marketing functionality which has been triggered. It's called automation in Sendgrid. So what it does is basically, on addition of that contact list, a welcome email is sent to that user telling him about, it's a thank you email telling him about what kind of content will be coming up. And then you can even set up a drip marketing where every maybe 4 days or a week, you can send emails. Okay. So this is what we are going to capture in general. We will be using Laravel for creating the code which takes the email address, does the verification, and then sends the email address to the Sendgrid contact list through the Sendgrid API, right? And then we will look at how we can set up Sendgrid to get our email marketing into place. So yeah, I'm pretty excited about this. I hope you are as well. So let's get started.
So I have this clean installation of Laravel where what I have done right now is just added my SMTP configuration so that I can use the Sendgrid service as my default mail sending option. So as you can see, I'm using SMTP. This is my host, port, username should be API key. This is very important. I took some time to understand that, but yeah, that's how it should be. This is your API key, which you will be generating on Sendgrid. The way to do that is obviously if I go into Sendgrid and let's just say I go to dashboard, inside settings, API keys, you can create a new one. When you create one, you will obviously see the API key, but you'll have to be careful about copying it and storing it in a safe place, because once you create the key, there's no way for you to get that back. The only option which you will left with if you delete or if you lose that is by deleting and creating a new one. Anyways, so we have our API key in here, the TLS as encryption method, and this is my verified email address. On Sendgrid, if you go to, I think it's inside market, single sends, I will be able to see some of the verified users. And no, this is not the one. Senders, I'm sorry. Yeah, so this is my verified email address. And yeah, that's how I would be able to use this email address as my from email address. This is my name, and that's all there is. So what we are trying to do right now, we are trying to have one URL. Let's just say, I'll just type it out. URL, which takes email address, right? And then it makes an entry into the subscribers table. Let's just say it happens like this. And then an email is fired. Let's just say with verified as false. Email is fired. And once the user clicks on the link which was sent through the email, this verified will become true. And then we will also look at how we can push the email address to the Sendgrid subscription list. But at an immediate level, let's try and first wrap this piece of code. Okay, so let's get started. First things first, we already have a users table, but we don't have a subscribers table. So we will create a model and migrations for that necessary stuff. So PHP artisan make model. I will create this as subscribers. Once this is done, let's just try and understand what kind of fields do we need. We need basically an email address is verified. And do we need anything else, to be frank? No, we don't, right? So why don't we do one thing? Let's go into the database, migrations, subscribers. Now, one thing obvious over here is table string email address. Let's put a unique constraint to it. The MySQL unique constraint will ensure that there are no two email entries which are same over here. And then we have a Boolean variable which is verified. By default, it is false because any new entry is not verified to start with. And then when the user verifies it, now we change it to true. So the migration is ready. Let's go to the model. Okay, so these are the two fields which will be fillable. Come to think of it, I can even do one thing, which is I can run an update. So let's keep it this way. I think this is fine. I'm thinking too much. So there's fillable. So we have our migrations in place, right? This is kind of done. We have the migration, we have the model ready. Why don't we open up web.php and we'll just try to fake certain things in our application, because I'm just trying to show you how the code flow will be. It's not the final product. So let's just say we have a temporary route called temp. Okay. Function. So in this, what we are going to do is, right, so this is where we make an entry, correct? How do we do this? Let me think it through. A user will make a post. We are assuming this is a post and a route where the email address is coming, and we have verified it for some, we have validated it. We can do that later. But then on this, once the validation is done, we need to make an entry in the subscribers table. So let's say $email equals, for now, reach me at amitavroy.com. This is the email address which we are trying to subscribe. Subscribers create email. Okay, this creates the entry, obviously. And then let's just see. We have this. Why don't we raise an event? Because we need to send an email, right? PHP artisan make event. What should we call this? User subscribed. So this is the event. In this event, we will only send the email address. So why don't we come over here? I am using PHP version 8.1. So there are certain niceties which I can use in this version, which is, first of all, I'll just simplify my constructor. I'll have public string $email. This will mean I don't need to do a public variable and then assign it as this dollar this email equals $email, something like that. Okay, I can directly use this stuff. It's a shorthand. So what we are saying is event new user subscribed. Okay, and we should be passing $email like so, and we can simply return, just do subscriber. Actually, my model name is wrong. Come to think of it, it should have been subscriber and not subscribers. Let's make that change. Okay, so subscriber, and model subscriber. This is done. Thanks to the static code analysis, it was able to get some of those red squigglies initially, and then it was able to solve it as well. So naming convention should be correct. So we have a subscriber getting created, then we are raising an event, and we are returning the subscriber. That is fine. If we try to do that with +1, again, this is something which is specific with Gmail. If you are using the Gmail email addresses, then you can do +1 up to n number, and you will be sending the email to the same email address. So I'm doing this right now. Let me serve the application on my terminal. Okay, and I'll come over here, localhost 8000. That's the application. Do temp. Oh, my bad. I do have a blank database, jet test. Yes, this was created initially for one of my tutorials, so I can use that database. I don't want to create a new one. Okay, I'll just do a migration and then serve. So MRS for me is migrate, refresh, and seed. And then I did a serve. Let me look at the database. Yes, I have subscribers, users, everything is fine. Let's come over here and do refresh. Unknown column email. That's interesting. Where is my email address? That's fine. Made a mistake. Not a problem. Email address, subscriber, email address, and refresh once more. So this entry got created, and if I look at the database, verified is 0. So this is fine. This is very basic Laravel stuff. There is nothing too fancy, but then now let's get into some advanced stuff. I have event, so I need to create some class which will handle this. Why don't we first set that up? So we have an event called user subscribed class. Okay, on this we will create a listener, PHP artisan make listener. What should we name it? Subscriber verification email. So we have a listener, and what we will do over here is subscriber verification email class. I need to save this, go over here, and before we do anything, first of all, let's type hint the event user subscribed $event, and we'll do dd $event email. If I'm not wrong, the constructor has email, right? So we should be able to see that in our not dd but logger. Let us open up the logs file, clean this up, and let's try once more, this time with 2. Okay, hit, and this is over here. Let's look at the log file. We are getting the email address inside the log. So our event service provider mapping is correct because from here the event was triggered. Okay, the mapping says on trigger of this event, this class needs to be executed. This class got executed. There is a handle method, and whatever we write in the handle method will get executed. So let's first create a mail. PHP artisan make mail, send verification email. Yeah, I know the name is very similar, but that's fine. I think the namespace in itself is a clear indicator what we are looking at, so not a problem. Emails dot verify dot, oops, it shouldn't be dot, it should be verify. Yeah, email / verify subscriber dot blade dot php. Let's create a simple HTML. What should we say? Thanks for subscribing. Please verify your email so that I can add you to my subscriber list by clicking here, like so. And let's just assume we will get a URL. Okay, now we need an URL, which means, let's see, this is our email. In the constructor, we will set it up in a way so that we get the URL. Okay, so let's do private string URL. This is available. So what we will do is emails verify subscriber. What I'm doing is wrong. I need to copy this so that there is no mistake. Emails I have done properly. That's not a problem. Okay, subject is thanks for subscribing, something like that. And let's pass some variable with URL, this URL, like so. Okay, I like to keep this in this format so that it's easy to read. This email would then need the URL, right? So what we will do over here is this is how it should be. Mail to $email. Okay, event email. This is how it will be. We call the send function, new send email verification, send verification email, right? In here we need to pass the URL. Okay, so $URL. Now how do we get this URL? Yes, it will complain. So our URL is going to be something like URL. Where is the Laravel version of it? Yes, Laravel. And then there is something called temporary signed route. Okay, this is what we are going to use. It has a name, the name of the route. So let's just say our name of the route is verify subscriber. That is the first parameter. And what is the second parameter? The second parameter is the expiration, which can be a carbon object. So now add minutes 30. That will mean the URL is going to expire after 30 minutes. And we can send parameters. So email will be $email, something like that. Now, obviously, it won't be $email, but rather event email. And this is the URL. So this makes complete sense. Why don't we log the URL as well? Although we will get the email for sure from Sendgrid, we'll be sending the email and we will get that obviously. But yeah, let's just see that how things work. So I'll come to my browser. Now this one should ideally fail, right? Yeah, it does. So this is good. Let's come back. Send this email out. What happened? Oh, yeah, my bad. That route is not yet defined. So verify slash, I can do something like email. What that means is I'll get $email over here. Okay. Or maybe I can do a route model binding. Let me see. If I'll just get the email because I'm sending inside my mail. This is the URL. I'm sending it. This thing is fine. Inside the event handler, I'm sending email as a parameter. So I don't think I'll be able to get that inside my route. So that's fine. $subscriber equals subscriber fine, where query where email address is $email first. Let's just return that, something like this. Okay, with this in place, we should be so yeah, this is going to verify. What will happen is I need to also do $subscriber verified equals true, $subscriber save, return subscriber. All right, so this is done, and with this in place, I think that should be enough. Let's see. Oh, I need to name that route because it is not going to look for an URL. It is going to look for a named route. So yeah, let's hit refresh. Okay, duplicate. Why don't we clear this entire table, truncate, and then hit refresh? Okay, this is success. Let me look at my email then. All right, so this is what the email looks like. Thanks for subscribing. As you can see, this is sent via Sendgrid. Now I'll copy this link address and come to this other window and click over here. Now this is going to work because although Sendgrid has sent me an email, which is a localhost URL, but because the application is running at my end, ideally, I should be able to see the data. Let's see. Correct. As you can see, the subscriber table has this email address with verified as 1. This is how the entire thing is working. The email was sent as now if I show you the URL, right? This is the signed URL which we got. It has an expiry. Okay, reach me @amitabhroy.com, verify /email, right? Yes, so it got that with an expiry and a signature. Now if I try to change anything over here, it is going to fail. And that's the beauty, and hence it's a signed URL. It's a temporary signed URL which has an expiry, and based on that we were able to allow the user to verify, and in our database we can easily sync the subscribers who have verified. I think I should have already also kept a column called sync so that I know at some point if I want to delete a user from this subscribers table, because it may have already been in my Sendgrid if I want to, but okay, I can keep it as is for now. And yeah, so now let us look at how I can use the Sendgrid's drip functionality to, rather first we will have to work with the Sendgrid's API to send the contact to the Sendgrid contact list once the verification is done. The idea is that when a user has verified his email address, his or her email address, we know this is a valid email, so we can now finally add that email address to our subscriber list and be sure that we are able to send our subscription newsletters, our not subscription, but rather our newsletters to that particular user. All right, let's get started with the ability to push any new contact to our Sendgrid contact list. Now I'll show you my Sendgrid's current contact list. So if you go over here, you can see I have only one contact in here. Let's do one thing, delete the entire list and start fresh. So I've deleted that one contact which I had. what we are going to do is to this contact list and create an automation which will ensure that whenever a user has successfully been added to my contact list, he will get a welcome email. That is done through the Sendgrid's automation. To save time, what I have done is gone into the design library and created this welcome subscriber design. It's very straightforward. You get a very nice GUI where you can create your own stuff. For example, if I go into this build mode, you can see I have an H1, a heading H1, no, sorry, H2, right? And I'm saying thank you for subscribing to my newsletter. A lot of interesting things coming up, blah, blah, blah. Thanks. And then we are also using a variable name. All the variable names can be found over here, right? So we get sender name, sender email, sender address, city, whatnot. But I was only interested in the sender name, so I have added that. And what it basically does is, this is my template which I can use inside my automation to send the user this thank you email, right? So this is what we are going to target. Let's get started. I'll go into my code, and if you remember, we have already subscribed. We have already written the code where when the email is sent, right, we are making an entry into the subscriber table, raising an event, and that event is being captured and an email is sent. To keep things simple, why don't we do one thing? We will write some code where this email will be first added to the Sendgrid API, Sendgrid contact list, and then we will move that as a service which will be called by a listener when a user is added to the subscribing list. Okay, so this is where we are raising an event which is user subscribed, right? And here we will maybe raise an event as user verified. So let's get started. First things first, I'll show you the integration which we will be doing for Sendgrid API. So Sendgrid API, based on the documentation, right? If you go into segmenting contacts, there is something called as update segment. Now this update, not segment, contact list, update list, create list. No. That's not segment. I am sure add or update a contact. This is the URL. So in this URL, what we are going to do, if you look at the documentation, it's a put request, right? This put request is taking authorization header and it's sending this data contacts as an array, and inside that I will send an object which has email. Let's see how we can do this. Now, one important thing is, as you understand, the bearer space, your API token needs to be provided as the authorization header. So I'm going to use the HTTP client. Okay, I have the documentation open. As you can see, I'm going to use the HTTP client from Laravel to make this curl call. Okay, the documentation says we can use this curl. We can make a curl call to this URL with this thing. The PHP code is where they are using Sendgrid API, but I don't think we will need the Sendgrid entire SDK for just such a simple thing. We can do that using the HTTP client. So I'm just going to use that. Okay, we will not be doing anything over here right now. We'll just comment it out. In here, we'll do response equals HTTP with basic auth, right? No, not basic auth. I think there was one function which was with token, bearer tokens, right? So with token is something which I'll add over here. Now, if you remember, my env has the API key as mail password, but again, I need something inside the configuration so that I can pull it up. So what I will do is inside my service.php, I will go down over here somewhere and do Sendgrid, and in that we'll have key env like so. Okay, and by default, let's just say it is empty, and that will mean what I can do here is config services dot Sendgrid key, and we'll make a put call to a URL which is, we'll go to this documentation, and where is my URL? Inside curl, I'll copy this $URL. This is quite big, so let's keep this inside a variable, and we will do $URL array, and inside that we need to send the data, right? So what we are looking at is contacts, okay, which is going to be an array, and in that I'll send the email which is coming. We can send other values as well, for example first name, last name, and whatnot, but right now we are only taking the email because my thought process is that the subscription form should be as simple as possible so that there is no drop off. There will be a lot of resistance if the form is big. Whereas if it is just a simple text field where you just put your email address, many users may not worry too much about it. Yeah, that much less friction. So yeah, we will capture only one field. Again, let's go into the documentation. What I know is request data. There is a way to get the body. Yes, response body. It provides a string. So let's do return response body function. We will be calling that. So now ideally what is going to happen is this contact list should get added. This email should get added to my contact list. What am I saying? Anyways, so let's get to the trial. Okay, this is from my previous code. I'll open up temp as my URL. Errors, field, message, invalid input. That's bad. If it says that there are errors, maybe this needs to be inside an array as well, if I'm not wrong. Let's try once more. Right. If we are getting the job ID, then it means that it was a success. Okay. There are APIs where you can get this job ID and check whether the job is completed or not, because sometimes I have seen that there is a little bit of a delay in Sendgrid in terms of syncing the contact and stuff like that. Let's go to our marketing contacts and see what we have. Right, we have one user count over here, which means this got added. Let's try one more email address. Maybe I'll do +1, come to this URL and refresh. We get a new job ID, which means this has been accepted by Sendgrid. And let's just refresh and see if we get the new contact in our list. Not yet. As I told you, sometimes it do take a little bit of time before it updates. All right, so now we can see the reach me at amitavroy.com and reach me +1 at amitavroy.com. Both these email addresses have been added. So now let's delete them once more. And what we are going to then do is modify our code first. Let's quickly spin up one more event and a handler for that. So let me do PHP artisan make. Event should be, we were doing user subscribed. Maybe here we will do user verified. Let's go inside the event. What do we need to pass? We need to pass the email address because that's all that we need, right? So public string $email. This is what the event will need. Let's have a handler, or rather a listener. No, I'm not getting the listener. We will call it as what? Let's come up with a name. Sync email to Sendgrid. Okay, what I tend to do is I name the listeners almost like action classes. Okay, so what happens is now when I go inside my providers and event service provider, right, I need to map, right, that there is an event like user verified, correct? So I'll do user verified class, and then if your listener name is defining an action, it becomes very easy to understand. For example, if you see the registered event has mapped send email verification notification. It's almost like describing the action, what is happening in that particular class, right? So similarly, we have subscriber verification email. I should have done send subscriber verification email. It would have made more sense, but unfortunately I haven't done that. We can do it later. Okay, but in here, let's follow the trend. We will do send email address to Sendgrid, something like that. Oh, sorry. Our name is actually sync email to Sendgrid. What am I doing? Right. So we'll have to do that, but that's fine. Sync email to Sendgrid is still an action. So there is an event and this is the listener, and by the name we will understand what action is going to happen. So let's get inside the class. Inside here, first of all, we don't need anything in the constructor, but we do need, we can, not need to, but we can type hint user verified as the event. So what is going to happen? Email is event and $event email, right? That's the property which we will get. And what I can then do is actually copy everything over here and do HTTP like so. This becomes $event email. Ideally, this should have some error handling in place because it's an external API. It can fail. There is no guarantee that it will pass, right? So there is a possibility that you will have to do exception handling and stuff like that. But for now, let's keep things simple. Okay, we have moved this code, so we can get rid of everything from here. This is the email address. We'll comment everything over here. And once the verification is done, we will do event new user verified event that will be called. The email will be $email. That's about it. So what have we done? We have moved the code inside this listener. Obviously $response is not required, but what we are saying is this is the mapping. When this user verified event is fired, call this listener. This listener is doing the syncing thing, right? So inside our URL, first we get the subscriber, we change the verified as true, and then we raise that event. Very similar to what we have done in this URL, right? So now it's time to get reach me plus 2. It should be done through the event loop, rather the event thing that we have configured. So let's see. Contact list is empty. This is our URL, temp, hit refresh. Okay, so I should ideally now get an email where the verification link will be sent. And as you can see, I do get that email. Let me copy this URL. And again, because I'm running the application on localhost, this URL holds true for me right now. But yes, if you need to do it properly, you'll have to host this application somewhere so that the URLs make sense. Okay, now the verification is done. Now we need to see if our contact was added in this list. Keeping my fingers crossed. It hasn't been updated yet. And finally, I can see this working. So the event which we have raised is working properly. Now it's time to get into the automation part of it. So we have a contact list. As I told you, now we will create a new automation, a welcome automation. Okay, the only thing which I have created so far is just the template inside my design library because that takes time. Okay, now we will call our automation as welcome email. This is the name of our automation. The criteria, the entry criteria is the first time a contact is added to all contacts. I can even target specific contact list, but right now I will have only one contact list. So I am saying that whenever a new contact is added to my contact list, this automation should get triggered. That's fine. Now, the third point is when will your contact leave the automation? So this is a series of events which is going to happen, right? So at some point you would ideally want that the automation should stop. So there are multiple ways that you can stop an automation. Right now we are selecting that when the contact has received all the emails in this automation, we can stop it. We can even have something like, in one of our client projects, what we did is a user starts a trial, right? And what we do is, because it's a 1-month trial, every week we send an email out. And the exit criteria, what we said is that if the field, there is one particular field called user plan type. If that is trial, then the user stays in this automations thing. Okay, and there are 3 or 4 I think 4 templates which are sent to the user on every week. Okay, because it's a 4-week thingy trial period, right? And the moment the trial ends, the trial changes to premium plan, right? The user exits from that welcome email. This is very similar to if you ever create an account with Notion, you will see that Notion sends you about 8 or 9 nicely formatted, well balanced content about how to use Notion. So that's something what we were also doing. We were educating the user on how to use that particular app. What are some of the good things that you can do with the app using those 4 drip email notifications. Okay, that's what we call a drip notification system. Okay, so yeah, a lot of explanation, but the concept is quite simple, to be very frank. Now, it is very important to understand that you should, in any newsletter subscription system, give the ability for the user to quit your subscription list at any point of time. That is very important. Otherwise, your ranking of the emails, your reputation, can you see this reputation thing over here? This can go down. Most of the marketing rules or the email service providers guidelines say that if you have a list, a subscriber list, it should be very easy for the user to unsubscribe if they don't like your content. So that's why we set this up. We are saying that there will be an unsubscribe link and it will result in the user getting removed from the global unsubscribe contact. Like it's a global unsubscribe. So he will be removed from the main contact list. Now, by default, you get this 3 email drip, and we don't want that big drip system. So we will delete the other 2. Get rid of this one and get rid of this one as well. Save this thing. And now what I'm going to do is change this template, which is some design thing, to the template which I have selected. Let me see how to do that. Sorry. Maybe I can delete it. Yes, I can. And then add an email. Wow, now this is not working. So let me see what happened. Still, I have those 2 emails. Let me delete once more. UI is a little buggy. I have seen that, but that's fine. I mean, they are giving the service for free, so can't complain. Add email content. Can I select the template? Yes, I can. So can you see I have one design template? So I selected that. Okay, design editor, that is fine. Yeah, this is all that I want to do. So let's get back to this thing. The subject says, thank you for subscribing. Select sender. My sender name is, yes, Amitav Roy. Reach me at amitavroy.com. That's the email address, right? And now hit save. Quickly review what we have done. So this is the name of our automation, which contact list to target, what is the exit criteria, the unsubscribe group. And now here, what we are saying is the moment the user is added to the contact list, send this email out. Now, as I said, because it is a drip, you have the ability to wait for maybe hours or days, right? So as I told you, we were waiting for 7 days and sending the first one, and then 14 days sending the second one, 21, and then before the trial ends, we send one more. In here, we are not adding one. We have only one. But yes, you can add as many as you want, even trigger 1 email per day, when the user is in trial period. So you can literally go for 30 if the Sendgrid thing doesn't stop you from that. Anyways, so our automation is ready. Let's do set live, confirm, and yes, this is ready. If I go to automation, it says the status is live. It has 1 email. Click inside it and all the analytics will be empty, but it gives you the basic information, right? And you can obviously edit things at any point of time. That's not a big deal. Now, to test it out, whether the email is being sent when the user is added to the contact list or not, right? So let's go to our URL. The list is empty, so I'll try with the basic email address, which is reachme@amitavroy.com. No +1, no +2, right? Hit refresh. So far, so good. This is created in the database. we have this verified as 0. Now let's look at the email which we would have received. So this is the email that we have received. As expected, this is coming from Laravel because the verification email is being sent from Laravel application. We'll copy the link, come over here and go to that URL. Now that's done. Ideally, if we go back to our database, we will see this as verified. That's true. And now let's see if we see the contact inside our contact list. There is a refresh button. So let me hit it a couple of times. Okay, the contact has been added in this list. And hence, I feel the drip email should have gone. So let's get back to the inbox and see what is happening. And yes, as expected, this is the email that I got. Thank you for subscribing to my newsletter. This is the exact template which I had created inside Sendgrid. As you can see, even the placeholder was replaced with the name, and I have the ability to unsubscribe. If I click on this link, it says unsubscribed successfully. Your email has been successfully unsubscribed from this list. So let's see. If I go to my contacts, hit refresh. And as I told you, the Sendgrid UI may take some time to update these things. So don't get surprised. Wait for some time and then you can confirm that yes, things are working properly. So I'll wait again. Ideally, the unsubscribe should work. All right. And now if I refresh, the contact has been removed, which means now the user has been unsubscribed from my contact list. So yes, that's how the entire flow works in terms of, a user getting added to my subscriber list, him or her verifying his email, and then getting added into my Sendgrid's contact list and getting a drip email confirming that he or she has been added to my list, right? So that's about it. Some interesting things which I can suggest you explore is, now obviously on the dashboard you can see certain kinds of analytics like how many emails were sent and stuff like that. Come on. So you can see how many emails were delivered. I was trying a few things and everything is being captured over here. You'll get a good sense of how many users are actually opening the emails that you are sending, right? Your open rate, click rate, bounces, spam reports, stuff like that. And then inside the marketing automations, you will also get to see how many emails got triggered through the automation. So for example, over here, I can see that one email was delivered and that user unsubscribed from my list. Too bad, but obviously that was me doing that unsubscribe, so that's fine. And a little more details over here, in case you want to understand how many times emails were fired using this drip notifications or drip emails, right? So yeah, that's about it, guys. I will try to get more content around these kind of marketing activities. I have been recently doing a lot of R&D on this thing, and hence I thought it will be good for you to know how these things are set up in a real life project. So thanks for watching. If you like this video, do click on the thumbs up icon and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. So now that we have our Sendgrid campaign ready, where using the GUI we can send the welcome email. Similarly, we can even send our newsletters through Sendgrid. So I will quickly create one such campaign and show you how you can also use Google Analytics to get stats to your website. So for example, I will tell you my use case. My blog has these articles, and what I want to do is, let's say in my newsletter, if I am promoting some of my articles, I would want those articles to be clicked from the newsletter, and when that is happening, I should be able to understand how many clicks came from my newsletter, how good the campaign is running, or how good my newsletter is performing in terms of giving me traffic from it, right? That is important. So let's see how these things can be done. So I'll go to my real-time overview thing. Right now, we should be able to see one user somewhere. Okay, this is Brave, and it is not going to work because Brave typically doesn't
allow any tracker, or maybe if I can just set down the shield and maybe try once. Let me see. All right, yes. So now my tracker is enabled on the website, and I can see the traffic coming inside my analytics. Now, the only thing which we need to do is understand what kind of traffic is coming from our newsletter. So let's quickly go into marketing, and we will do a single send. Single send is like an email marketing which you are doing once. This is obviously not something which I require. I'll delete this and let's start fresh. To create a scenario, let's just say we talk about mobile development, and I'll try to, or maybe no, Laravel on your machine with Docker. So this is something which I'm going to talk about. So let's create a blank template, design editor. Inside here, I'll go to the build section, bring in a text. Let's just randomly type some content so that we have something to send. I'll copy the image URL, come over here, and let's see if I can even add an image. Okay, I'll have to upload it. So I'll save it on my desktop. Come over here, select that. So I'm just trying to see how I can link something in here. So I'll just select this text in here and then insert link. And now it is important to understand that for us to track certain things, there is a way in Google Analytics to do that. I'll show you the URL, which I'll be in the end add that. Can you see there are certain URL parameters? One is UTM source, which says newsletter, UTM medium is email, and there is a campaign. So this is something which you can find very easily if you do Google Analytics campaign builder URL. Something like that, I think. Yes. So you can use this tool to create your final URL. I also do the same thing. So basically you come over here, paste your link, website URL, campaign ID. I don't have any. Source is newsletter. Can you see now this URL is getting created over here. Medium is email and newsletter campaign. Okay, something like that. And then this URL becomes ready for us to copy and paste it over here. With this done, what is going to happen is the moment I send this email, there will be link to my article with those parameters. And what Google Analytics will be able to do is detect certain kinds of information based on the URL parameters, like where it is coming from, the referrer, the campaign, and stuff like that. And that is what is needed for us to set up the stuff. The last thing which I want to do is remove these addresses and stuff. That is something which I don't need, and set this up. So Laravel development, Laravel Docker development, something like that. From sender is fine. Subject is, let's just say newsletter 01, Laravel development with Docker, something like that. Okay. Send to all contacts. Okay, I'll have to add because we, based on our video, right, we have deleted everything. And unsubscribe is use global unsubscribe. That is important. Let us save this. The only thing which I haven't done yet is maybe I'll just delete this block. Okay, address is not there. So yeah, this is done. Save, and we will quickly add a contact, because I need at least one to send the email, obviously. No, not CSV. Sign a form. What happened? Okay, maybe I'll just spin up my instance and try once more. So inside web.php, this is there. So localhost 8000 temp. Okay, this is not going to work because my database already has that entry. So maybe +7, because we will get the email on that particular address only. So that doesn't have any problem. Now let's look at the email. So this is the email where I need to verify. So quickly open it up. This is done. The email is now verified, and pretty soon I should be able to see the email in the contact list. Okay, so the email is here. Now it's time to send the newsletter out. So click here, review details and send. So everything is set up. In the mobile, it will look like this. Plain text, it works like this. That's all fine. Pretty straightforward. Why don't we hit send? Confirm. Okay, this is done. Pretty soon I should get the email, but I want to first see the analytics saying that one delivered, and it hasn't done that. It says 10:39 CDT. No, that's a bit strange. 10:39 CDT to IST. What does that transform to? 9:9. Okay, and it is 9:08 right now, so maybe I'll have to wait for a minute when it will be triggered. So what, as I mentioned you, right, I have seen that there is some bit of delay in Sendgrid, and you have to live with it. It's 9:09 now, and I should get the email anytime now, but yeah, let me see. Refresh. Not yet. I don't know what has happened. But as you can see, this stats is going to give you a lot of interesting view. Here, you will get the links which are there in the newsletter. Okay, it hasn't given it yet because I think it still hasn't sent that email. But yeah, for clients, when we use them, right, we get these information. Okay, now it says sent on, and it has a green thing on it. Okay, and it also says one delivered, which is good. Let's go inside that. Okay, so the first analytics which you see here is the send report, right? And now, because we have one link, but I haven't clicked on it, there is no information on it, but let me go to the email, click that link and see what happens. So this is the email which I have received. As you can see, the subject says newsletter 1, Laravel development with Docker, which is nice. You know, the title, the text, everything is here. Let me click on the link. Let's see how it has transformed. Okay, the entire URL is here, which is good. That's what we wanted. And now let's go into Sendgrid and see if that information is tracked in the analytics. So I'll come over here. I expect some delay. I'm not saying it will be immediate, but let's refresh and see. Right, the click tracking is working. It said that there is one link, clicked once, and that's fine. And let's see in Google Analytics, do we get that? So we have seen that there is someone on this URL, which is fine. Let's go to events. No, not events. Actually, it's traffic sources. Inside traffic sources, can you see it says medium is email and source is newsletter? That's how our campaign is working, right? Why it is doing that? As I told you, the URL which we have has few UTM parameters. UTM source is newsletter, and hence you can see in Google Analytics in real time, you will see source newsletter. Also, UTM medium is email, and hence we are seeing the medium as email over here. Okay, and campaign is newsletter subscribers, which is not obviously showing over here, but if I'm not wrong, acquisition, campaigns, all campaigns is something where you will see the entire data, but obviously right now it is not going to do that. This report is delayed by 24 hours, so you'll have to wait. But obviously we can see from the real-time data that our UTM parameters are being captured, and Google Analytics is able to understand that there is someone who has come to the URL from the newsletter that we have sent. So yes, that's about it, guys. That's how you not only set up your campaign, but also use Google Analytics to your advantage and see how much traffic you are getting on your blog post from the newsletter that is being sent. So, it gives you the ability to understand whether all the efforts that you're taking is even making sense or not. So yes, that's about it, guys. That's what I wanted to capture in this series, where we have started right from the beginning of a user's subscription journey till the end, which is sending an email out from Sendgrid and then tracking whether that information is being captured in Sendgrid and Google Analytics or not in terms of the traffic to our blog. If you like this video, do click on the thumbs up icon, and yes, don't forget to subscribe to my channel.